Right, I will make a start. Anyway, so tonight's class is all about where doTERRA oils come from. So yes, this is just about how they source, where they source from, and why they do what they do. Okay. Hi Jenna, good evening. Nice to see you on here. So I'm going to share my screen with you because, as always, I've got some slides. So I think that's sharing my screen. There we go. I love this picture with all the different flags where doTERRA oils come from. So this is a really important factor when you are deciding whether to buy doTERRA oils. This is what sets doTERRA apart. So I love this side of doTERRA. So I'm really excited to do this class for you. I'm just going to move my little thing there. Right. So here are just some of the places that doTERRA source from. So doTERRA's oil collection is sourced from over 40 different countries, and over half of those are actually developing nations. So this is a map that I put together because I couldn't find everything all in one place, which actually looked readable. So can you see your favorite on there? Lavender from Bulgaria. I went to Bulgaria with doTERRA, it was wonderful. My favourite, Douglas fir, is sourced in New Zealand. We get jasmine from India. We get vetiver from Haiti, cobaiba from Brazil, clove and ylang ylang and ginger are from Madagascar. So lots of really lovely exotic places doTERRA source their oils. So why source across the whole world? Why do we go to that much effort? The main reason is sourcing where plants thrive the most have two main benefits. So wherever a plant thrives the best is because it has the best nutrients in the soil, the altitude is correct, then the climate is suited to that species. And because of that, when you do that, you actually get a better chemistry of oil. So lavender grown in a polytunnel in this country is not going to have the same chemistry as lavender grown wild in the hillsides of Bulgaria. It's not. And when you have a more complex chemistry, that oil has better health benefits when we use it. And so that's sort of the first benefit. And the second reason why we source globally is to work with committed partners and farmers with high integrity. So we partner with the most knowledgeable farmers and artisans who have an abundance of knowledge about their crop. And we work with the farmers there to create a better economy. We don't go in and we don't buy up the land. We don't go in and put our own workers there. We want to work with the people who have had these plants and land for generations and, you know, handed down to them from generations because they have so much knowledge to share. And the way that doTERRA source is actually the most expensive way to do it, but it is the right way, and we'll go more into that. So there is a dark side to essential oils. Because there's no regulatory body that oversees the quality or safety of essential oils, adulteration is very common in the essential oil industry. So by adding other substances to the original pure oil, the producer can get more money out of the oil and charge a higher price for a lower quality oil. Often the essential oil company selling that oil is completely unaware of this, and it's just the standard in the industry which is set by that middleman or broker. You can see here the sourcing model from farmer to distiller. So that farmer who's probably being paid unfairly can be using herbicides and pesticides and other things to speed up their crop. You would, wouldn't you, if you weren't being paid fairly and this was your source of income? You'll do what it takes because that is whether you feed your family or not. Then the distilling can be done in two different ways. It can be done completely chemical free, which doTERRA insist on, or it can be done with a load of chemicals to speed it up and to bulk out that oil. And then the oils go to a broker, perfumist. They're often put in laboratories, and certain compounds of that oil will be synthesized and added to the other oil that they got from the distiller. So it's probably already not pure even after it's come from the distiller. And if it was, by now, it won't be pure, because they are trying to bulk it out, because they don't care about health. It's not about your well-being. It's about putting a fragrance in a bottle and putting that out on the market. And this carries on, and the reason it can go through so many hands and still be so cheap is because it's not pure essential oil. It's because it has been watered down, and they can write 100% pure on the label and it not even be a drop of pure essential oil in there. So as it goes through, then the company will purchase it from a middleman or broker who can even present things like an organic certification, which in some countries you can just buy. And that company will buy it, bottle it, and put it out. None the wiser, or sometimes they are the wiser. Who knows? But by the time it comes to us as a consumer, it won't be pure. doTERRA's co-impact sourcing model, very different. So working with the farmer, ensuring we have no chemicals used, no herbicides, no pesticides, etc. Then when it's distilled, again, nothing is allowed to do it, and nothing's allowed to be added or taken away from it, or any chemicals used to speed up this process. From the distillery, it goes to doTERRA. So doTERRA are their middleman. They are the, this is where they then test it. So it goes to doTERRA. They have lots of different testing on it, which we will get into, and then it goes to the consumer if it's pure. Now, the farmer and the distiller are not going to use chemicals or anything to grow their crop or distill it, because doTERRA have this testing, and they simply will not use an oil that has been compromised. So sorry, just finding where I am. So we have more than like 9 million customers. So doTERRA have the largest essential oil database in history. And I know that when I buy doTERRA oils and all my customers buy doTERRA oils, we're really voting for that economic and sustainable and ethical process with our money, which is really important. So co-impact sourcing. So I've spoken about how doTERRA carry out their business and what that actually looks like as a process. But what does co-impact sourcing look like for the farmers, and what does that look like on the ground in these countries? So it's about providing fair payment and making that sure that that is on time. Farmers will often receive a profit share of their batches as well. And they get to use proper equipment. There's no cutting corners, because doTERRA will make sure they have all the supplies that they need. They have improved working conditions, again, because doTERRA, being so humanitarian, will make sure that the women harvesting it are looked after properly, that they have a comfortable place to go, that they're getting the correct breaks that they need, and all these things. They've really changed a lot of the ways that people were doing business, and farmers and the employees can now do this and make it much more of a user-friendly working environment, because everyone's being paid fairly. That makes such a big difference. Also, doTERRA support families, communities, and villages. So it's not just about the farmer, it's about the farmer and his community, because that's his employees. It's about, what do they need there? Do they need schools? Do they need hospitals? What is their need there? And then continuous supply and demand, ensuring economic growth. As I said, doTERRA are the largest essential oil company in the world. Our supply and demand is always going to be there. which in turn ensures that these farmers are going to have a consistent income. And how much more relaxed and content are they going to feel and proud of their work, knowing that they are always going to have work, that they're always going to be paid fairly and on time. So by doing that, that has such a huge knock-on effect to their families. So they can then afford to send their children to school, and they can know that they can go to sleep every night with that peace inside them, that I can get up and go to work tomorrow. So 98% exclusive. So what this means is that because doTERRA partner with farmers and distillers and harvesters, they never buy anything or enforce like contracts and like exclusivity. But 98% of the people that we work with have chosen to be exclusive to doTERRA. Well, you would, wouldn't you? If you had the company who are paying you the most, who have provided you with the most, you will want to be exclusive to them, because that's where your loyalties lie, isn't it? So the land always remains the property of the farmers, but they are choosing to be exclusive to us, which I think says a lot. And because of that, no other company can claim that oils are just like doTERRA's. It is impossible with that percentage of exclusivity, and then being the largest essential oil company in the world. It's absolutely impossible that anybody can claim that, oh, our oils are just like doTERRA's, with the extent they go to source and the countries they go to. There's just nothing out there on the market that is anything like this. I love this picture here. This was taken from when Hannah and I went to Salt Lake City in America. We went to the doTERRA Global Convention, and they brought on stage some of their partners, some of their farmers that they'd flown in, because they just wanted to show appreciation, and they formed this big heart on the stage, just of all their all the people who run the distilleries, who run the farms. It was really lovely to see, actually, and there's so many nations being represented. It was really special. So environmental impact. So doTERRA will always remain stewards of nature and respect the land. That's so, so important. So I'm going to give you some examples. So Hawaiian sandalwood. So Hawaii's native sandalwood trees have long been prized for their beautiful aroma and unique properties. But unfortunately, the land and its resources have not always been managed properly. So doTERRA has worked with the Hawaiian government to create a meaningful and positive impact on many of the native species. So they have planted over 35,000 native trees since 2018, and their goal for this year is to plant more than 135,000 trees, which will be the largest native reforestation effort in Hawaii ever. So that's something that if they want to have that Hawaiian sandalwood as an oil, they're going to make sure it's done in a sustainable way. Frankincense. So this is about protecting the over-harvesting of frankincense trees. So doTERRA is a leading voice in frankincense research and sustainability initiatives. So they lead the charge in propagation and have developed some of the first frankincense nurseries in harvesting areas. So they work with a network of harvesting communities and resin sorting warehouses for continuously improved traceability and transparency through the supply chain. They've brought in experts to see when the trees need to go into sort of respite, because if you cut a frankincense tree too much, if you're trying to take too much resin of it, if you cut too near the roots, that tree will die. Whereas if you cut it just enough to get the resin out that you need, and it's done in a sustainable way, that tree can regenerate and rejuvenate and give you harvest after harvest, rather than just stripping one tree for all it's worth and then letting it die. Another good example is supporting the ecosystem in New Zealand with their Douglas fir oil. So doTERRA's Douglas fir is sourced in New Zealand, where that tree is actually considered an invasive species. So the production of essential oil from the young trees help prevent further spread of the species, and supports the ecosystem by providing an opportunity to regenerate native species who perhaps are not as invasive as Douglas fir. So this is all about keeping the ecosystem alive and having that variety of native species, rather than one species just taking out every other species there are. Did I say species enough then? The huge important factor when buying oils, the environmental impact. So healing hands. Oh, I love the healing hands. I couldn't find enough images that I wanted to shove on there, that page, to just show you. So the Healing Hands projects is a not-for-profit foundation set up by doTERRA to help provide extra support in communities. So they do microcredit loans, providing renewable funding for entrepreneurs in developing countries. They supply clean water and well programs. They are building and revitalizing schools and clinics. They're providing medical equipment and resources for hospitals and clinics, and they are giving education on hygiene and health. Now, some of the pictures here, you can see a school being built. I couldn't find out where that was, but it looks in a very mountainous region. I love this picture here of the children with all their school bags. And this picture here of no, I don't think that is Emily, right? But I think that's a doTERRA advocate, giving the natives clean water, because quite often they go into a country to look at the oils and the plants and things, and they realize that people are just not even having clean water to wash with and cook with. So, you know, straight away doTERRA in there with, well, if we're coming to this land to take some oils and work with you, you're having clean water. Days for Girls, really important charity which helps the education of communities in countries where girls are ridiculed for starting their menstrual cycle. They provide sanitation and educate on hygiene, and it's just a really, really important charity. I really implore you to look at that. Days for Girls, it's called. I've seen doTERRA advocates just in warehouses literally sewing sanitary wear, reusable sanitary wear, and these are, you know, we have a really strong partnership with those. And then we also have a really another important and serious partnership with OUR Rescue, which is Operation Underground Railroad, which free children from sex trafficking. So that partnership there is very, obviously very sensitive, and just about releasing children from slavery and sex trafficking, and doTERRA are a huge support of OUR Rescue. And I've heard the gentleman who runs it, he's called Tim, he runs the charity, and I've heard him speak at doTERRA conventions before. But doTERRA really want to fund as much as they possibly can to really just help the people who need it. We're extremely lucky, and I think they just feel that they want to bring, you know, just hope to everybody, no matter what their situation. So I love that about doTERRA. So just to sort of summarize, doTERRA's sourcing guiding principles are all about generating jobs, providing fair and on-time payments. You have no idea how serious that is. When we were in Bulgaria, some farmers were waiting over a year for getting their payment for their last year's crop. You know, they are really taken advantage of. So that is really important. And building supplier capacity, sustaining long-term partnerships, ensuring fair labour conditions, promoting cooperatives, ensuring environmental stewardship, and facilitating community development. So combining all that together, I can't see another company doing all of this stuff together. I have not ever have seen another company do this stuff together, let alone an essential oil company. You know, I just haven't seen anything like it before. And I like to think of myself as quite a conscious shopper, an ethical shopper. You know, I do think about that quite a lot, and I do try and make the best choices that I can. And to see how doTERRA do everything, yeah, it was when I was really deciding whether to go back to my job in the pharmacy or to do doTERRA as a business, this is one of the things that I was really blown away with when I was researching. So the next step. So what does all that mean? Once we've got, you know, done everything there with sourcing the best, helping the most, what is the next step? So the next step really, because there is a high risk of contamination in the growing, harvesting, distilling, transportation of an oil, the natural next step to take is to test them. Even with doTERRA's efforts, there is still room for contamination. So doTERRA is the largest and most trusted brand in the world and the most transparent regarding the amount of quality testing on each oil. So they have over 60 different tests on them. They have an independent company who do a range of these tests, and that company is called the Aromatic Plant Research Centre. Please do look them up. So they're the most trusted source for research, development and authentication of truly pure essential oils, plant medicine in general. Recently, actually, they tested essential oils from over 50 different companies. Only 3 companies had pure essential oils. doTERRA was one of them, and the 2 other companies, I think they're both Australian and very small, with only a very handful, literally a handful of oil selection. So doTERRA are so confident in the purity of their oils that you can check the test by entering the batch number found on the bottom of your oil, and you can enter that on sourceg.com, and you will get given a test report for that actual batch of oil that you have in your bottle. So never any chemicals, fillers or herbicides. They will only bottle an oil if it's truly 100% pure. And then from there, furthering science and medical research. doTERRA are partnered with hundreds of universities, medical research universities, hospitals, care homes, schools. There are so, you know, scientific research. They are in hospitals. There is so much research being done with these oils. It's actually a really exciting time, because what doTERRA want to do is they don't want to say, put down all your medication and just take this. It's not about that. It's about collaborating and building that bridge between Western medication and plant medication, because obviously we have Western medication for a reason. We do, you know, some people really do need it, you know, they depend on it. But if we have all that knowledge, if we have all the knowledge available to us about both types of choices, then that information is so powerful for us to be able to decide what we want to do and what we want to put in our bodies. But when we are only shown one way, when we're only shown the Western way, the medical way, you know, the Western medication way, it's very, you know, for people to just disregard plant medicine without having any knowledge about it, it can be quite ignorant, really. But knowledge is power, you know, having that learning of both. And that's what doTERRA really want to bring to everybody, is that knowledge, because then you can make a decision for what's best for you. And that could be, you know, it could be either way. It could be some of this and some of that. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So I go off on a little rant about that. But that's it. So I hope that helped you sort of learn all about where doTERRA oils come from, why they're sourced that way, and I hope that you can see that by doing this, doTERRA can really guarantee the best quality for you. You know, this is what we want to be using when we want to see really big health impacts, and we want to have that knock-on impact and know that that beautiful bottle of oil we have in our hand has actually helped the farmers where this is sourced, and it is an ethical product. So there's not many companies who are very open about their whole supply chain. So that's my slideshow. Are there any questions?